is Julia Levitt, and I am the managing editor of World Changing.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has called climate change the biggest challenge of our generation. And it's not just an environmental challenge, he says, it's a humanitarian challenge. It's a health crisis, an energy crisis, a food crisis, and a security crisis, all wrapped up into one. But, he says, we have an opportunity. As you know, this December here in Denmark, leaders from around the world will meet to finalize a new climate change agenda. Now, what they decide will be determined by what they talk about, but one thing is certain. We have no hope if we don't work together. The planet pays no attention to political borders, and what we do in the countries that choose to do nothing now will impact the countries that choose to take action immediately. Now, people around the world live very differently. I'm going to show you a series of pretty neat slides from a project done in the 1990s called Material World, where a photojournalist took pictures of statistically average families in countries around the world sitting outside their houses with all of their stuff. So we have very different ideas of what material wealth looks like. Ultimately, though, we all want a lot of the same things, right? We want to be comfortable, we want to be safe, we want to be prosperous, we want to connect to the things and the people that we love. So the path we've taken to get here so far is pretty different in the developed and the developing worlds, and I'm going to use the example of the mobile phone to illustrate this. In the developed world, we started with the telegraph, moved to the landline, eventually we got to the cell phone. In a lot of developing countries, they've gone right to the mobile phone. I love this one. This is a chef in San Francisco, and he is able to maintain a nomadic restaurant, so he has a different way of sharing space. He serves dinner in different restaurants around the city all the time, restaurants that are only usually open for breakfast and lunch, so he uses space that isn't being used otherwise. Third old way of thinking, we can throw things away. Instead, let's think about cradle-to-cradle systems and closing the loop. So most things that we make and use today are destined to become trash and pollution. That's because we have a linear system of production and consumption. We take things out of the earth, we move that stuff to a factory where we make it into products. We take those products to a store, you or I go to the store, we buy that stuff, we bring it into our house. Immediately, some of it becomes trash, right? Because you throw away the package that it came in. And then we use our stuff up, or maybe we just get sick of it, we throw it out. But when we throw it out, it doesn't really go away, right? It goes somewhere. And even if it goes to a landfill where it's technically supposed to be out of the way, it can leach into surrounding ecosystems, causing pollution. This is a slide showing the Pacific Ocean, and the yellow areas show places where there's more plastic trash than plankton. Yeah, that's pretty gross. So companies are already starting to think of ways to address this by coming up with reusable products like this coffee cup. So you can take your reusable cup to your favorite coffee shop and fill it up with coffee, and you don't have to use a paper cup. So that's a good solution. But a better solution is addressing the whole system, right? So instead of that linear system, we have a circular system. So a lot of cities are implementing strategies like zero waste. Now imagine if your city had no garbage cans because you never had to throw anything away, because everything that you used became a nutrient. So it became compost, or it became recycled, or you gave it right back to the company that sold it to you, and they used it, they broke it apart, and they used the pieces in it to make new stuff. So cities have different ways of implementing their zero waste strategy. The first is facilities, like this integrated materials facility in San Francisco. So construction companies, when they take down a building, they take the materials here where they're sorted and they're kept for other construction companies to come back and buy them at a discount, recycle them into new buildings. So let's revisit what we talked about. Climate change is the biggest challenge of our generation, but it's also the greatest opportunity for innovation. We talked about three old ways of thinking. More is better, we all need our own stuff, we can throw things away. And three new ways of thinking about solutions. Building systems that work smarter, not harder, own the service, ditch the stuff, cradle to cradle, and closing the loop. And I hope that you use this as a jumping off point, so when you're working together over the next couple days, you can think of even more. So in conclusion, the time for innovation is right now, and it starts with you. So I have a story. In 1961, American President John F. Kennedy challenged Americans to land a man on the moon within 10 years. 8 years later, it happened. But the average age of the NASA engineers who put those people on the moon was 26, which means that their average age when Kennedy was president, when he gave them that challenge, was 18. So they were in high school. They were where you are now. They were inspired, they had a mission, and they won. The biggest difference is that this climate change will be a universal goal, and it's not a competition. We need to work together, we need to share and learn freely, and we need to imagine the world that we want to live in. So, in the words of famous environmentalist Paul Hawken, you are brilliant, and the earth is hiring. Good luck. Thanks for having me.
I've seen the challenge around the world about the climate impact it's doing on people, and it's a tough time out there. It's really bad. I've been working for more than 10 years for the Red Cross organization, traveled around in many countries and seen the impact. And I just continued my project about climate change. I don't know if it's possible to get the computer on. Maybe just a swim. But I've made 2 school books about climate change for the Danish students in Denmark, so they could learn about the impact and also the challenges and also the small solutions that people they are having around the world. The pictures that is hanging out here is from 8 countries, and I will show you some of the pictures from these 8 countries, if it will come up. And I will continue to work on this, and I do it because I think it is really necessary that to find some solutions for the people around the world. I've been to Ethiopia, where I will start to show you some pictures in a short time, and it was 2 years ago, and there was a drought, and imagine just like we live in Denmark, I live in Denmark, a lot of people, now you're here. You see rain all the time. It's just coming. And down there, I met some children that hadn't heard the sound of rain or felt rain falling on them. It hadn't been raining for more than 2 years when I was there in that area. 2 years. That makes the earth totally dry. It's just sand, and it's blowing away and making really. It's very uncomfortable, and it was 45 degrees during the day, and that was in the shade. So it was awful to live there, and it was really difficult for them to have the situation in that area because of a lack of water. So all the men down in Ethiopia, they carried guns, and that's the only way to protect their own water source. And water is such an important that means life to them. So they have a lot of small fights, one clan against another, just to get water access. Because all of a sudden the water will run out and they don't have any water. Well, what then to do? Well, they had some guns and they could go fight the next clan and see if they could get water. That was how Darfur became one of the biggest challenges of the world about climate change. It was climate change, it was the lack of resources of water that made this really big catastrophe in Darfur. The same is happening in Somalia right now. I don't know if there's anybody from Somalia.
So what are you doing here at Siemens?
It's actually a part of our strategy to always support young people in their quest for knowledge, and especially since the environment is very important for Siemens, most of our portfolio is based on environmental solutions. So the importance for us to be here is to show young people that Siemens is a company where our focus is very much in the environmental solutions, and with these solutions that are actually helping society to continue to have focus on the important mega trends and so on within society. So that's actually why we find it quite intriguing to talk to young people and hear their thoughts and ideas on what inspires them in terms of the environment and what are their thoughts for the future. Because it's always very inspiring to talk to too colored from experience. So that's why we do so.
Landia van the Roman for testing. This year we come a bit farther, so we start to make it autonomous. Next year it's supposed to be fully autonomous. So far, we can control Landia with the joystick. We can control the wheel and also control the sail. With the buttons we can pull the rope, and with the movement of the joystick we can control the wheel. We also got a gyroscope, GPS, speed sensor and wind sensor on this one. For control all of this one we're using a compact wheel from Measurement Instruments. It's something new on the market and easy to adjustable. Just buy a new model and you can put new things. This one is programmed in a lab view, so we just need to set up a computer connected by Ethernet with the cable here, and then it's working. For power supply for computer and joystick we're using these two batteries. They're kind of big, but they need to work, they're supposed to work for like 4 to 5 hours. There's also an idea about a small computer on the landing, but it's becoming the future.
Okay. So have you had some good questions or interest from the young people here?
I would like to encourage them to sailing, to land sailing. It's kind of popular in the West Coast, in the United States, also in France. Become more and more popular here in Denmark. This one you can also remove the wheels to the space and use them during the winter, so it's proper for here.
Coming straight from the heart, I promise, just rip the part. And it's hard to keep telling us to change. Same shit, different day. Middle finger point towards the skies all day. It's the same people trying to pull us down. Damn, everyone wanna show signs saying you heard. Only footprints left from the place that you stood. You said I could, I would, or maybe I should. This kid only bothered letting he learned straight from birth. Drink, sex, drugs, his body couldn't take his soul, ticking off like a bird straight to heaven. What's left? A family needed more than ever, that's it.